Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here with you. I'm honored that the Belmar team has asked me to kick off today's summit with some thoughts on considerations that we make as executives when contemplating a digital transformation. I will say, though, from the introductions that I've had the opportunity to hear so far, it is clear that I will be learning as much from you as you may learn from me. Steppingstone has begun our own digital transformation process and is adopting Salesforce as our new CRM. And we're so grateful to have partnered with Belmar to be able to do that. So just to share a little bit more about our organization and our value propositions more specifically, at Steppingstone, we envision a more just and equitable world where all students can actualize the life-transforming benefits of a college degree. Boston is home to 118 colleges and universities, the fourth most of any US city. We celebrate the legacies of these institutions and the positive impact that they have had on our city. Yet, a cursory look under the hood, maybe a Honda, maybe a Tesla, shows that the dream of going to college is often out of reach for the population of students that we serve, students of color, populations that are recent immigrants or first-generation Americans, particularly those who live in lower income communities. These students struggle to successfully access and navigate college. Like many Steppingstone scholars, I sought to navigate the complexities of the US higher education system as an immigrant from Barbados, with very little prior knowledge about the various functions, features, and roadblocks that are truly endemic to our education system. So as Jenny mentioned, to that end, we at Steppingstone prepare students from historically marginalized communities to access, navigate, and graduate from college. In Boston specifically, we provide academic, social, emotional, and college readiness programming from as early as 5th grade, continuing through college graduation, and serving 1,500 students annually. Nationally, we connect the people, practices, and innovations essential for eliminating barriers to college and career success through the work of our National Partnership for Educational Access. And they're actually going to be hosting a 2-day DEI conference starting tomorrow. So if you need more professional development, that's also a great opportunity to check out. So I want to come back to this question. Why might you consider a digital transformation? I would argue that we should be thinking about our businesses, by nature, as living, breathing organisms. As organizations focused on co-creating social impact, we exist in dynamic ecosystems that are ever evolving to meet the changes in our political, social, economic, and technological landscapes. With time, our teams may shrink or grow in size, and we often welcome new change makers and say goodbye to those who have left legacies on which we can build. So in an environment that is like this, I think it is essential that we also continue to evolve. If we don't evolve, we get left behind. The beneficiaries of our organizations will choose to have their needs met elsewhere. And no matter how vital our mission, even one as compelling as Stepping Stones, staff will leave when we become stagnant if they see no indications of change on the horizon. Change is the only constant. So what is digital transformation? So this is my hobbled together thoughts around this. It's a process by which we leverage the investment of new technology to enhance our business processes in hopes of creating a fundamental change in how we deliver value to our stakeholders. It can help us better understand our program beneficiaries so that we can create a more customized program experience. It can enable us to communicate more effectively to our donors. It can create efficiencies in our processes and provide vital insights that enable staff to be more effective. We should not underestimate the power of a digital transformation. By nature, it is radical, and the end result will look totally different from where you began. When done effectively, it creates a coherent vision and business strategy that charts a bold and exciting new direction for you and your teams. So here are some thoughts around what I believe are some key questions or some guiding questions for making the case for digital transformation. You have to be super clear around why is it necessary? Why do you need to do this? As non-for-profits in the social impact space, is it mission aligned? And last but not least, and I think one of the things that we should be really, really clear about is digital transformation the journey, or is it the destination? And so we want to be always careful about what do we want the end goal or the outcome of this to be? Here are some keys to successful planning, and this is based on our experience here at Steppingstone. I'm eager to hear in the breakout session what has worked for other organizations. But one of the things that seemed to be pinnacle for us is to really know our organization well. Regardless of how long you have worked for your organization, thoughtful analysis of what you do, why you do it, and how well you do it is important. Though this may seem obvious, please know that there is still more to discover, especially regarding efficiency and effectiveness of your business. Admittedly, a thorough analysis of your org could take many months, require the expertise of an outside consultant, and stretch staff's time in unpredictable ways. Activities like these are often precursors to or part of strategic planning processes. If it is not part of your regular business practice to do this type of analysis, I strongly recommend that you do so before embarking on this initiative. The learning that emerges from this will ultimately inform the nature of your tech investment and will be critical to your strategy to winning over your stakeholders. Those could be allies, those whom you deploy, use for good to garner greater support. They could be your opponents, those who you may need to neutralize or shield from the project until it's well underway. And then you have your indifferents, those who you seek to convert into supporters and potentially mobilize to bring opponents along. For us at Steppingstone, it started with some introspection. What is our mission? How well are we executing or delivering on our mission? These questions are essential, regardless of industry, as they serve as our North Star, really setting direction for the organization. As nonprofit leaders, we are familiar with the ups and downs of nonprofit life. Maintaining a healthy run rate and managing expenses to ensure financial stability. Recruiting, developing, and retaining high-performing staff. Measuring outcomes in an effort to claim social impact. managing partnerships and relationships essential to the delivery of our services. And we develop incredible resilience when tested by challenges on any of these fronts. So why has Steppingstone embarked on digital transformation? For us internally, one of these pain points was felt more acutely than others, and that was our ability to consistently track outcomes. For a long time, we believed that this was our illness. But upon further reflection, it became clear that the actual illness was our inability to maintain meaningful connections with scholars as they moved along the scholar journey. The longer scholars spent with us, the weaker their connection to Steppingstone. Our struggle to track outcomes was merely the symptom. So that then brings me to thinking about how you can continue to build this argument and continue to plan. And I want to talk a little bit about return on investment. As part of our analysis, we sought to understand how we were allocating resources across the value chain. We attributed staff costs and hours, worked to specific programs and to activities that directly impact scholars, as well as those that were indirect expenses. And what a valuable exercise. It helped us to better understand direct versus indirect expenses, as well as spot areas which, areas of the value chain which were either more or less resourced. This then triggered a series of strategic questions for us. Are these allocations appropriate? Are certain aspects of our programming over-resourced? Are there opportunities to shift resources from one part of the value chain to another? How can we leverage technology to be more efficient so we can shift some of our indirect expense tasks and activities to direct expense activities? So let me share with you what I thought was an incredibly actionable example of this. We learned that given the nature of our admission process and the staff required to execute, it costs Steppingstone approximately $1,900 to admit one child to the program. We accept 110 scholars each year. We work really hard to achieve the outcomes that we do, but the time has come for us to work smarter and leave behind the scarcity mindset that encouraged workarounds and rewarded ridiculously long hours. We believe that with an embedded intake system and the automation of Salesforce, we can claw back up to 35% of costs and time in the pilot year, with a potential of more savings in future years, resulting in resource allocation that shifts instead of students who are exploring the admission process to those who are currently enrolled and working with us all the way through college. Projects like these require a significant investment of time and money. And our ability to make the case for why this transformation is needed and how it will help the organization more effectively deliver value to its constituents is essential. So the first thing I'll say to you is, please be transparent with your boards. You alone are in charge of the narrative. Identify board members who will support the idea, can help fund or secure funds for an initiative like this. The next thing I want to mention really quickly is really understanding the operational side of our work. Emerging from your analysis should be well-defined organizational goals with an understanding of how you organize yourselves to deliver on these goals. It's also important to be able to identify key metrics to measure impact, as well as to understand how we are trending toward those goals. So those would be your leading indicators. A shared understanding within teams of the processes and practices required for each team to meet their objectives. Without this clarity, there's no way that we are going to be able to build a system that really meets the needs that are customized to each team. From an operational staffing perspective, it's really, really, really important that you secure a small team that essentially will become evangelists for this project. They can assist in the collection and analysis of feedback around the current pain points of your existing CRM. They can help vet platforms as well as solution partners. They can serve as a sounding board during the build and be early adopters of the technology, serving as in-house trainers and sources of knowledge for others within the organization. I also encourage you to be transparent about material changes. And so you might want to ask yourself, what other structural changes need to be made in order to cement this change within the organization? What new roles need to be created? Do you now need a systems administrator who is Salesforce certified? You should also be thinking about the clear expectations for how the system should be used, anticipating how your processes will change, and working with your teams to develop those new processes. Mandating training for teams and managers on how best to leverage this new resource is a no-brainer. But that is one of the things that will require a significant investment in time that feels different or maybe outside of the core scope of their work. And then set cadences to review reports and dashboards across teams. If it's not clear already, this work requires vision and leadership. And I encourage you to develop your own theory of action that supports this adoption. I'm kind of naming this, for me, the cycle of prosperity, and I'll tell you why here. An increased frequency and quality of student contact will lead to better outcomes. That will then lead to employee fulfillment as well as better job satisfaction. That will then allow us to retain high quality staff, and it will result in more intentional programs, which leads us back to having better relationships with scholars. You may have heard this, but we apparently, since COVID, we're in the golden age for employees. In fact, in August here in the United States, 2.9% of the American workforce resigned. COVID has provided a new outlook on how we view life and work. At the end of the day, and I'll leave this here with you, we're youth workers who enjoy working with kids and families, and the opportunity to improve how we do that is our why. What's yours?